Welcome everyone. I'm very excited to give you guys a presentation on electric bikes. Electric bikes, reality or out of reach? Can the common person afford an electric bike? When you're looking out there, it really kind of makes you wonder what some of these companies are thinking. This is the same bike that my neighbor bought. She had to rationalize this purchase by not driving her car for a year. And she did it. This is a very nice bike, but it has a very expensive price tag. This is the bike that I currently own. I managed to buy this used on Craigslist for $600. It had done a fair number of kilometers, but a little bit of maintenance, and it seems to be running just fine. So you gotta ask, why electric bikes? Why do we even care? Well, they're making cycling very fun for those who never did, or maybe you live in a hilly area, or maybe your knees just aren't any good. With your electric bike, you can do some pretty awesome things. This video is a drag race of two guys on electric bikes. These are hopped up. These are not your standard off-the-shelf bikes. But let's see what they can do. They're pretty fast. This kind of performance is not out of reach for the average person, though. Alright. So if you don't want to spend $4,500 and you're kind of wondering what kind of electric bike you're getting for this kind of price, then it's time to adapt an electric motor to your own bicycle. And this is probably the most cost-effective way of doing it, especially if you can install these parts on your own. So what do you need? You're going to need a motor. This is called a hub-mounted motor. This is a very common way of doing it, and there's a lot of benefits to it. For one, you can have two of them, which is really nice. This particular bike here has two very large motors, and this is a very large battery. So I'm guessing that this thing is built for speed. I wouldn't be surprised, just by looking at it, if it were capable of going up to 100 kilometers an hour. It's really not that extreme. This is the other type of motor. This motor mounts between the pedals, and there's a lot of benefits to this because you get to use your suspension. Now, of course, you can have a hub-mounted motor on your suspension bike, but having weight at the wheels is bad for handling, so that's why it's preferable to mount it in the middle. After you've selected the motor for the type of bike you want, you're going to need a controller and a throttle. The controller is the brain. It modulates the power from the battery to the motor so that you don't go taking off dangerously, or you can command full power when you want it. And the throttle is just as you would think, it's a throttle. Here's a picture. This is a thumb throttle. You can have twist throttles. You can also have an automatic throttle that kicks in as you start pedaling. So after you've got your motor, controller, and throttle, the last thing you need is a battery. You got to power this thing. So this is a battery pack stripped down, showing you the individual cells. These cells are usually around 3 volts, and that's too small a voltage to give you any sort of power. So they stack them all in series, and they run anywhere from 36 volts up to 120 volts. It just depends on how much power you really want. A good sized battery for your average person is probably going to be around 52 to 72 volts, somewhere in there. When it's all dressed up and finished, it can look something like this. This is the type of battery I have on my own personal bike, and it's a nice little package with a lock and a rack, and it can fit where your water bottle goes. Or you can pick something like this, and this is a little bit bigger, and this is designed to fit on the rear rack of your bicycle. Everybody always asks, how far can it go? And this is where you're going to need to spend some time choosing what kind of battery you want to buy. Now, batteries are coming down in price because of new technology coming out all the time. And the batteries are rated in amp hours and volts. So the amp hours is how much energy density is inside. and I've made this little diagram to kind of show you what we're talking about. A 350 watt-hour battery is on the smaller scale, smaller side of things. You don't see too many batteries smaller than that, and likewise you don't see too many batteries bigger than 1,000, because you start to enter the realm of, are you really going to ride your bike that long? There are benefits to having a big battery though. It does give you very stable power and lots of amps to push you up a hill. When it's all said and done, you're going to have something that maybe looks like this particular bike. So this is your common front suspension mountain bike. This person has chosen to go with a rear hub mounted motor, and this is a bag that looks like he's purchased, and inside here is going to be a battery and a controller, and somewhere up here he's going to have a throttle. And basically this is probably the best bang for your buck. If I were to guess, you could probably convert your electric bike with very good components, I mean motor and battery and controller, for somewhere around $1,000 to $1,500, depending on how big a battery you want. Other than that, it's fairly straightforward. And one of the best companies I've come across so far is called Luna Cycle. These guys right here. This company out of California, they make their own battery packs, and they have all of the motors that they have had success with, and they sell these things as kits. If you want any further reading on the topic, you can go to lunacycle.com and find they have a huge, vast amount of information so that you can make an educated decision for your own personal bicycle. And they also ship to Canada, and it makes everything very easy. So anyways, thank you for watching.